Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Hello, welcome back. Today's Daf Hayemi is Meseches TEMURAH Daf Yud Ches. We begin on Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Amamar. Let's go back and review what we learned yesterday. We spoke about the Psukim, which teach that not only the actual original korban is offered on the Mizbeach, but even the Vlad, the offspring, or even the TEMURAH of that korban belongs on the Mizbeach. We had one pasuk, Im Zachar, Im Nekeva, which taught us that the Vlad and the TEMURAH are included in the Akrava, and even if the Vlad is a Vlad of a Shlamim, which was a Baal Mum, so the mother animal was a Balas Mum, unfit for Akrava, the offspring, which is fit, or the TEMURAH, which is fit, goes on a Mizbeach. We had another source from the next brisa, Rak Kadashecha, extra words teach us that the Temurahs and the Vladais of the original Karbanos are fit for Akrava and the Mizbeach as well. Amar Mas, let's go back to that second brisa. Yochel Avkol Akachim Kain. Perhaps this concept of including the Vlad and the Temurah applies to all Karbanos. Yochel Avkol Akachim Kain Tamulema Rak. That's a limiting term. Rak Kadashecha, which will exclude some Karbanos from this rule. Asks the Gemara, which Karban do you wish to exclude? The Vlad, the child of which Karban? Vladaman. Ida Oila, the Vlad of Oila? That's impossible because he's not a female, Zacharhu. He can't have a Vlad. Vlad bar Eludihu. Not able to have offspring. Vidachatas. Are you attempting to exclude the Vlad of a Chatas from Akrava? Well, that's without a pasuk. It's a very known halacha. Gemirla. We have an accepted practice, a halacha l'meshim Sinai, that in fact the lemisa kaimi, that the Vlad of a Chatas is left to die. So we don't need another pasuk for that halacha. Return to the next element. Okay, next option is an asham. Ida asham. Are we trying to exclude of the asham? Well, again, Gemirla. We have halacha l'meshim Sinai that it's not fit for Akrava, the L'Riya Azla. It goes out to pasture, it goes out to the farm, hoping that it gets a mum sooner or later, and the money will be afforded to the Oila fund. So that's a well-known formula. The Chol Shabachatos Meisa, any situation where if it's a Chatos, it goes Lamisa, such as the Vlad and the Temurah, Ba'asham Raya. So if, in a similar situation, if it's by an Asham, it goes the Raya, goes to get a mum, it's not brought on the Mizbeach. So why is this new pasuk necessary? To teach us the same? Answers the Gemara. Lo'ilam b'chatas. Certainly we're speaking about a chatas. And as to your question, don't you already know that from Lachal Mishmei Sinai? The answer is like this. It's true that Allah tells us that it's left to die. Why this added pasuk, ukra, mutalak grava, to disqualify it from akrav on the mizbeach? Ask the Gemara, but doesn't that go hand in hand? I mean, if it's meant l'misa, then it's not for akrava. V'haba Italia, one does depend on the other. Given the l'misa asla, once we have the halacha l'mashim Sinai, it is left to die. Of course, it can't be put on the mizbeach. Mela lekarva. You're right. Elahilchas alachatas. You're right. Elach Mashim Sinai dictates the rule of the chatas, so we don't need a pasuk for that. Ukra l'mutet tumuras asham. Rather, the pasuk, which is coming to exclude, is coming to exclude the temurah of an asham. Ask the Gemara once again. That's already known from the halacha, right? Honami chasek mirla. The Amri, we said, kol shabachatos meisa be'asham raya. a situation where if it's a chatas es l'misa, a corresponding situation by an asham goes l'riyah. So why do we need a new pasuk for this? The answer is elakra mi baile the avar makriv koibase. It's true. From the halacha we know that the vlad, the temurah of the chatas of the asham is not meant for akrava. What if he did? What if he was makriv it? Comes this pasuk and says rak, only the valid ones, as opposed to the other ones, which don't belong here. If he violates, if he proceeds, he has transgressed an asay. It's considered a lav habomach asay. It's a negative which is derived from a positive. Yes, these, but not those. So that's the added element that we learn from this pasuk. Not only is it not fit, but there's an isser as well. We do not need to be memai to exclude the temurah of the chatas and the asham from this pasuk rak, because for that we have another pasuk. Pasuk says asham hu, and we learn from there only hu karev, the actual original asham, belongs on the mizbeach. Veitimur sekriv as opposed to the temurah. Lama likrov hilchas gemara. Ask the Gemara. Again, why do we need a new pasuk to disable the temurah of the asham from akrava? It's already known from the Lachal Mishim Sinai. And Taisus asks, well, we could have answered like before, that the pasuk adds another layer of Isser. Taisus says that it's not really relevant here, because earlier it was based on the pasuk rak. Only these and not those. That's called a lav, which is derived from an asay. But here he's learning it from who, right? Only this and not. That's not. It's not sounding like an asay. Go ahead and do this, right? And has a different ring to it, and therefore it doesn't have the same, asay application. In any case, ask the Gemara, well, why a pasuk? It's already halacha. You're right. We do not need a pasuk to exclude the temurah of the asham from akrava. So why then do we need a pasuk? Or something else. Another element that relates to an asham. Look at the Rafuna. Ask for Rafuna's halacha. The Rafuna. So we have an asham, shenitek l'riyah. An asham which was unneeded for whatever reason. The owner already had a different carbon in its stead, and nitak means it was detached, so to speak. It was sent away. It was dispatched. L'riyah. Given to the shepherd. Go ahead and try to get it, running around, get a mum. So now it's on the mum track, hoping that it gets a mum. He'll sell it, use the money to buy an oila. Ushchatei stam. And before it got a mum, while it was still unblemished, the fellow did a shchita on this animal in the Beis HaMikdash without any specific thing in mind. He wasn't thinking, asham or oila. Kosher l'shem oila. Guess what? It has the status of an oila. Why? Because it was slated for oila. Its destiny was oila. You were awaiting a mum, and then, to convert the value to an oila, so it had that oila tag on it already. And therefore, if you shechted it without any specific thing in mind, it automatically defaults to an oila, and it's kosher. But that's only because it was nitak. It was detached, it was sent away, it was dispatched. Loy nitak, but otherwise not. So even though ultimately it's meant to be sent out to the farm, it's meant to get a mum, it's meant to be converted to an oila, but since it hadn't yet gotten on that track, it's still regarded as a full-fledged asham, in which case, if you shechet stam, it's not going to be considered a kosher oila. My time. Why? Based on this pasuk. Hu, asham hu. Which means it remains an asham. Baviyasa yehei remains in asham status, unless it's been dispatched and relabeled. And that's what we learn from this pasuk. Okay. Now, lahaitana de kol yolav mahani kroy. So we had two possible sources. We had two approaches to the source of the temurah of the the Oila, the Shlamim, the Vlad of the Oila, the Shlamim, that it goes Lahakrava. It's either from Im Zachar in Nekeva, that was the first approach, or Raka the Shecha, Asher Yulacha, etc. So the question is, what's each opinion going to hold of the other pasuk? L'haytana d'kiyolaf l'mehani kroi. The Tana, the second one who learns from these psukim, typically Zachar Nekeva. Why can't he learn from the first psukim, Zachar Nekeva? The answer is Aumi Boile. That's needed for something else, for a similar halacha, but to tell us another element of this kind of halacha. Levlad bali mumin, ultmuras bali mumin. So we need a second pasuk for the basic fact that a vlad and a temurah of a kosher carbon is valid as a carbon as well. And the other pasuk, im zachar in mekeva, is coming to add. Even if the temurah or the vlad is coming from a mother animal, which is a baal mum, which is unfit, but it in itself is fit. But typically kuli ma'ikra. Okay, once you're submitting to that pasuk as a source for vlad and temurah, you can learn everything from there. Just as the first time I learned everything from there. He said that Zachar tells you of Vlad, and Im Zachar tells you the Vlad of a Balmum. Nekeva tells you a Temurah, and Im Nekeva, the Temurah of a Balmum. Imli Mashimli, he is not going to dwell on the word Im, it's just a mode of expression, so he didn't have an extra source for that. And therefore, you can only learn one halacha from that pasuk, which is the Vlad and the Temurah of a Balmum goes on a Mizbeach. Ulaitana Danafkalei. Me'im Zachar and Nekeva. Now let's reverse it. According to the first shita, we learned everything from Im Zachar and Nekeva. Lavlad and the Temurah, whether it's from the Tam or Balmum, it's all a carbon. So then, what about the second pasuk? Tisu Basa Mai Avali. What does it do with the second pasuk? It's coming to teach you a totally different halacha. If a fellow pledges to bring a carbon, don't procrastinate. If it's time to go to Beis Hamikdash, bring it along with you. Even if it's pasturing out on the farm. Well, I'm not going to bother, I'm going to find another opportunity. No, you're going up to Beis Hamikdash. You can go bring it right now. Another pshat, mimorgayu, even from its threshing, equipment over there. Go ahead, get your animal, get your carbon, and bring it up with you. Now's the opportunity, don't delay. Say the Hilga Mishnah. Rav Eliezer Omer. Rav Eliezer Omer, Vlad Shlomim, Leikrav Shlomim. Interesting. In contrast to the previous sugya, where it seemed like it was universal that a Vlad of a Shlomim is a valid carbon, comes Rav Eliezer and disagrees. He says, no, you can't bring it as a Shlomim. The Gemara later will explain. First, the Gemara figures it's a pasuk. Then we conclude that it's really only midrabanan, concerned that he might be tempted to leave his animal around and generate offspring to increase, the number of karbanis that he has. So, Rav Eliezer, in order to discourage that, breeding practice, which might actually, cause a pitfall, because if you have a carbon sitting around too long, you might use it, you might share it. Vlad Shlomim, Leikrav Shlomim. They say no problem. We're not concerned about a fellow abusing the karbanis. Amr Rab Shimon. Let me elaborate. There's no discussion. There's no machlekas regarding the next generation, the grandchild of the Shlomim, the grandchild of the Temurah. That, of course, is not. The machlekas is only al Vlad in the first generation. Rav Eliezer Omer. La yikrav, v'chacham yikrav. On that is a machlekas. Rav Eliezer says no, chacham say yeah. But in the next generation, of course not. Let's see in the Gemara how this is explained. Okay, so we have Tanakama, which says no problem. Vlad. Rav Eliezer says even the Vlad is off limits. Reb Shimon seems to draw some sort of distinction between the second and third generations. Hey, Rabbi Yeshua, we have a testimony from Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Papias. Both of them testified, Al Vlad Shlomim, Shikrav Shlomim. We know firsthand that, in fact, the accepted norm, the accepted practice is that the Vlad of Shlomim is a valid carbon. In fact, I'll tell you a story. Amar Papias, and I will testify, Shaisa Lanu, Para Shazaf Shlomim. We personally had a para, a shlamim para. V'achalno b'Pesach. We consumed it in honor of Pesach. And lo and behold, Mazel Tov, I had an offspring. And that was consumed later on, the next Yom Tov. V'achalno v'lada b'shlamim b'chag. We ate the vlad as a shlamim during Chag. We'll see in the Gemara, this means either Shavuos or Sukkot, we'll see. In any case, I'm confirming that a vlad of a shlamim is considered a valid korban in line with the Chachamim's shita. Amar Rabbi, Amar B'Yechna. So why? My time to Eliezer. Why does Eliezer disqualify the vlad of a shlamim? So initially the Gemara will bring a pasuk. Amar Kra, V'im zavach shlamim karbani, and Rashi explains, V'im can be read like V'im, like the mother. Only the mother animal is valid, not the offspring. V'im b'lei vlad. Amalei Rav Chia bar Abba Rav Ami. Okay, if that's the case, Al Mi'ata im al toida akrivenu chenami deim b'lei vlad. What about a toida? Im al toida is going to be read im al toida, only the mother toida, not the vlad. So the offspring of a toida is not a korban. Perhaps you'll say it is so. Atani, you have a brisa clearly telling us otherwise. Brisa speaks about a toida and validates the vlad. Atani vlado TEMURAH v'chilufeh. I mean, how do we be able to include all those secondary toidas? The child, the TEMURAH v'chilufeh. There was some sort of substitute as a backup. Minayin, how do we know they are valid korbanos? Tamlaim imal toida mikol malkim. All these variations are valid korbanos. Ella Amar Chia bar Abba B'Yechna. It's not based on a pasuk. It's not on a Torah even. It's midrabanan for concern of abuse. I need time to Eliezer. You know what Eliezer disqualifies the vlad of a shlamim? Because there's a concern. We're worried. Shamba yigadol me'madam radar. If we allow the vlad to be accepted as a korban, he might just hang on to the mother animal and have it generate more and more vlados, more and more offspring, to get himself more korbanos. And by the time he's done, he might mistakenly work with one of them and share it. So we're looking to expedite the hakrava system. Just go ahead, do the mother, and leave the vlados alone. Amar Reb Shimon lenechlaku. Comes Reb Shimon, he says there's a difference between the child and the grandchild, the second and the third generations. And if you look at the lashon of Reb Shimon, it's a bit unclear. I'm not sure exactly what he means. He says, look, Amar Reb Shimon, lo nechlaku, back in the Mishnah, lo nechlaku, there's no machlekes al vlad shlamim on the grandchild. Shelo yikrav. Now what does he mean by those words? Even Rebbe Eliezer says that second generation is not likrav. In this case he agrees. Third generation is better. So shelo yikrav means this is what he holds in the second generation, but here all agree it works because it's a generation further, or just the opposite. Even the Chachamim, who allow second generation, in this case shelo yikrav, they will agree that the third is not valid. So which way is he going? The question was posed like this: what does Reb Shimon mean? There's no machlekes that you can't, meaning Reb Eliezer, who typically holds no. In this case he holds yeah, Ela Yikravu. Rashi says a svara because perhaps since it's so distant from the original Shlamim, it's already the third generation, people won't have that, point of reference. They won't realize that in fact it's coming from a Shlamim and it's not going to cause people to copycat and to hold on to their Shlamims. So that's a mitigating factor if it's further from the original. So that's one way to learn. So the further away the better. Or perhaps the other way around. It's the opposite. It's worse. Even the Chacham will say that second generation is okay, but here it's third generation. All agree it does not work. So which way is it? Amar Rabba, Mistavra lenechalku, sheli yikravu, ali yikravu. Says Rabba, I go with the first approach, that even the Rabbanan, even Reb Eliezer, who X's the second generation, checks the third generation. My time, you know why? Ad kan lepol Reb Eliezer elei the Rabbanan. Reb Eliezer disagreement with Chacham is only on number 2, Ela Bavlad. Avavlad la, but Number 3, akroi ba'amu, it's just a happenance. It's not a regular thing. And here Rashi adds another svara, on the bottom line. In Rashi, it's not very common for this to happen. The Chacham typically only address common concerns. Akroi ba'amu, so there's no concern. That's Rabbi's approach. Rabbi Shimon Levi Amar, he says just the opposite. Number 3 is worse than number 2. Even the Chacham will hold that it's okay, that's only by number 2. But here it's number 3, all agree it's an X. My time, you know why? Even the Chacham who are more lenient to Rabbi Lezer, that's only by number 2, but if it's number 3, based on his behavior, what do we see? We see what he's up to. Nikeres machshavta, we see what his plan is. He has one thing in mind: to increase his herd. He's holding on to them for breeding, for expansion. So clearly, he's up to something no good. In which case, all agree we invalidate it. Okay, so now Taisus makes an interesting configuration. He says, according to this Rabbi Shimon Levi's approach, we have 3 shittas in the Mishnah. Tanakama, who says, well, it works, no problem. Vlad, no problem. According to Rabbi Lezer, no offspring are valid, whether it's son or grandson. According to Rabbi Shimon, Machlek is only on the first, on the the child. Rabbi Lezer says no. Chum say yeah, but once it's past that point, we'll agree it's an X. We turn on the place. Tani Rabbi Chia, l'siyur Rabbi Shimon Levi. So Rabbi Chia came up with a brisa in support of this last pshat, Rabbi Shimon Levi, and it's based on a pasuk. Asks Taisus, a pasuk. We just concluded that it's a rabbinic concern, Gzera d'Rabbanon. So he says, you're right, it's primarily Gzera d'Rabbanon, but there's a pasuk which serves as an asmachta, a support, as a hint to this concept, that the 3rd generation is not accepted. So the pasuk speaks about a shlamim. It says, im kesef, hu makriv, if he will offer a kesef. And Rashi says, kesef is mashma vlad, a young little shepsel, a young little sheep. We learn from this pasuk only the initial offspring, vlad risha and karev, that works, but vlad sheni, the next generation, the grandson, einay karev, that's not valid. And from the word hu, in kesef hu makriv, that's a limiting term again, hu karev, to teach us only the vlad of ishlamim is valid as a korban, but vein vlad kachim karev. But the same will not apply, to all korbanos. Other korbanos do not have this halacha. Okay, now when we say only this and not others, as opposed to what? Vlad demai. Which vlad are you excluding from akrava? Either oila v'asham, those two. It's not really relevant. They're males, zachar and hem. They don't have vlad. Vlad b'nei vlad hem. Either chatas, are we excluding the vlad of achatas? That's old news. Hilchas al gmirla, dilamisa azla. We already know from the halacha mishmei Sinai that vlad of achatas is not valid. So what do we need to exclude? Amar Avina la'asuyei vlad hamusaris. It's coming to teach us that if you have the vlad of a maser behema, that's not going to be kosher for a korban. Rather, you wait till it gets a mum and you eat it. Ask the Gemara of Vlad Musaras to teach us about the offspring of a maser behema. Lam likra, why a pasuk specifically for that? We know that through a Gzera Shava by linking maser behema to Bechar. And a Bechar, of course, doesn't have a Vlad, which is valid. He doesn't have a Vlad at all. The Bechar is a firstborn male animal. We have a Gzera Shava, Avara mi Bechar, Kagamrla. We learn from Gzera Shava. It says by the Bechar Avarta, it says by maser behema Yavar. And just like there's no Vlad Bechar for Akrava, because it's a Zahar, likewise, there's no din of hakrava for a Maaser Behema's Vlad. So why do we need a new pasuk to exclude the Vlad of Maaser Behema? The answer is Istrach. We do need a new pasuk. Salka, Datachamin. There's room to think that really it's not a fair equation. Ain't done in Efshar. How could you learn the status of a Vlad of a Maaser Behema, which is possible? It is a possibility because Maaser Behema could be any gender, whichever one comes out as number 10. Misha Yefshar, how could you learn that from Bechor, which is a male, which cannot have a Vlad? Perhaps it's not really a valid link. Kamashmon comes to pasuk and says, you know what? Here's a special pasuk that in fact the Vlad of a Maaser Behema is not kosher for a carbon. So Maaser Behema is the one and only one, the one that walked out as number 10. But that cannot be transferred. So the Vlad of that Maaser Behema does not have carbon status. Now back to the Mishnah. Vlad of a Shlamim. Tanakama says it's kosher for a Shlamim. Uleza says it's not. Hey, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Papias, we have testimony. We personally had a para. We shechted it as a Shlamim on Pesach, and the Vlad was eaten in the next Yom Tov. Now, the word Chag, typically throughout the Mishnah and Gemara, refers to Sukkos. You mean they waited that long to consume the Vlad of this carbon? How could you wait that long? Ulu Rabba the Amar. Rabba already taught us back in Sechus Rosh Hashanah, Kotchem, that a carbon that you're obligated to bring and to offer, you can't wait that long. Once the first Yom Tov passes you by, and you don't bring it to the Beis HaMikdash, kol yom b'yom, over aleim ba'aseh. He's a violation of an aseh. Every day that passes without him bringing it. So in this case, it was already around from Pesach. So I understand, on Pesach, maybe it was underage, it wasn't, right? Rashi says it was born on Pesach, right? So you have to wait 7 days. So it's not relevant for Pesach, but you meant to bring it at first opportunity. Come Shavuos. You can't delay past Shavuos until Sukkos. So what happened? So he says, you're right, but here, it was unwell, it was sick, so you couldn't bring it as a carbon. You had to wait until the next Yom. Rav Ashi Omar, my chag namig tani chag Shavuos. You're right, when it says chag of the Mishnah, who says it means Sukkos? Here it means Shavuos. Now the other opinion did not want to learn like him, because Kalechi, the Tani, Pesach, whenever we have a reference to Pesach, we call the Yom Tov Pesach, which is actually a rabbinic reference, because in the Torah, Pesach is called Chag HaMatzos. So when it's called Pesach, Tani Atzeres. In contrast to Pesach, the next Yom Tov is called Atzeres. So if we're talking Lashon Torah, Rashi says like Chag HaMatzos, so next Yom Tov could be Chag HaShavuos or Chag, which is Lashon Torah, but in this Mishnah we call Pesach as Pesach, which is Lashon of Chazal. So in contrast, Shavuos should be Atzeres, which is the way Chazal referred to Shavuos. It has no specific, mitzvah to be done, like matzah, like it's just withheld from malacha, Atzeres, held back. So the fact that it's calling it Chag indicates that we're talking about Sukkos. Okay, so if that was the reason why we didn't bring it on Shavuos, either because it was unwell, or according to the second shot that it was actually brought on Shavuos, so what's he testifying about? He says we had the Vlad on the Chag. I mean, what's the big deal? The answer is Lafukim der Belezer. You're right. He's coming to oppose Rabbi Eliezer Shita, who says you cannot process a Vlad of a Shlamim. That's all his point. That's the only point he's making. Damar Vlad Shlamim, Likra Shlamim. He says the Vlad of Shlamim is not valid as a Shlamim, but Kamasa, and that's why he's coming to testify. Otherwise, Kamasa do the Karev, so he came to testify that it is valid as a carbon. But you're right, in terms of the timing, there wasn't really much of a novelty on that point. Continues the next mission. What about a Vlad of a Taida? Or a TEMURAH of a Taida, or TEMURAH V'ladon? Or the offspring of those. Vlad V'ladon, next generation, outside of Kaladoris, until the end of time. What's their status? They're treated like an actual toida. You process them like a toida. Ubavan she'ein tunan lechem, barring the lechem requirement. So the basket of breads only accompanies the original toida, not the second generation toida. How do we know these halachas? Tanarban, we have a brayso based on a pasuk which speaks about bringing the carbon toida. Im al toida yakrivenu, right? Vikr al zevach toida brings the breads. Ma oimer yakrivenu. The word yakrivenu seems to be superfluous. You could have said the same without the word yakrivenu. Rashi says, it could have said imal toida. Vikr al zevach toida. What's the yakrivenu all about? Ma oimer yakrivenu. The answer is coming to add another variation of a toida. So a fellow who was mafresh toida, set aside a carbon toida, it expresses gratitude, thanksgiving to Hashem for saving him, for healing him, freeing him, right? And one missing. He went ahead and he put aside another carbon instead. And then lo and behold, we discover the first one. Now we have two. We only need one. How do we know that he has an open choice? You can choose whichever one. And alongside it comes the bread. So the word yakrivenu can be split into two. First we dwell on yakriv of yakrivenu to tell you, it's up to you, pick your choice. There's no preference to one over the other. Okay. What about the second one? Do you have to add another basket of breads for the second one? No. Here comes the new to tell you only one requires bread and not two. Now how do we know that a vlad of a toida, a temurah of a toida, a chalifin of a toida is a valid carbon? And Taisus asks, we just finished saying that the substitute toida is valid too. Taisus say we're talking even after he was makravon, he chose it. Makravon, what happens to the one that's left behind? Tamulaymar, it's kosher v'im al toida. The word al teaches that you can add many more. Yochel yukulan tunis lechem. What about adding bread for all? No, tamulaymar al zabach toida. Only the one original one, ha toida, that one. Toida tun lechem, only that one needs lechem, only one, but not the secondary or copies or offsprings. Okay, so now we know that the vlad, temurah, etc. of a toida is considered a valid carbon, but bread only goes to the original one, the one that he chose to be makriv. So it's the mother and the original one. In the case when he has two, right, the one that got lost and he had a backup. So in that case, whichever one he chooses as his primary gets the lechem to come along with it. Now what about an oila? Says the Mishnah, Tmuras oila. So here we don't have a vlad. Why? Because an oila is a zachar. So we have a tmurah of an oila. And if that tmurah happened to be in a keva, it can have a vlad. Vlad tmurah. Vlada. Or generations down the line, I'd say for kol oilam, until the end of the road, they're all treated like an actual oila, with all the halachas of an oila. To and have shit, you have to flay the skin, and cut it up, and all the flesh goes straight onto the fire. Now let's say he was mafresh in the keva oila, instead of a zachar, did it in the keva, which is not valid. The zachar, it has a son, has a male offspring, which is technically suitable for hakrova, but is coming from an unfit source, a mother which was in the keva. Interesting question. So what do we do with this? Tanakama said it's not really a valid oila. Rather, yira, achiyistoi, let it run around the farm until it gets a mum, v'yimachar, you sell it, v'yami, v'yidam of oila, the money is used to buy a proper oila. Tzibur. So it goes into the treasury where they have a fund to buy donated oilais in the Beis Hamikdash. Davas tzibur. Lazo Aimer, who asked me krav oila? Rabbi Eliezer says, why bother doing that? Skip the whole process. Just take the actual son and process him as an oila. Despite the fact that he's coming from an unfit mother, who cares? He's Roy, gesundheit. Now the question is, we had two parts to the Mishnah. Two cases of Vlad. In the beginning we had Vlad Tumurah Oila. So you have a proper Oila. From it you made a Temurah, which was in a cave obviously, which had a Vlad, right? Now Vlad, the Mishnah says, is a proper Oila. No problem. And even Rabbi Eliezer agrees that's a valid. Even Chacham agrees it's a valid oila, despite the fact that his mother was a female, which is not really fit for oila. Whereas in the Sefer, when he was mafresh in the keva for an oila, here Chacham say the vlad of this in the keva oila is not kosher because his mother was unfit. So you have two examples, seem almost identical. A vlad of a oilas nekeva. In the ratio we say it's kosher for korban. In the Sefer the Chacham say it's not. Ma'ishna reish not loy pligi. Or ma'ishna Sefer the pligi. Why do they argue only in the Sefer? A vlad of a nekeva that he was mafresh. Where the Chacham say it's not kosher for an oila, versus the ratio where there's no machlekes. They seem to agree. Now you can take the vlad of a temurah, of a oilas nekeva, and use it as a korban. Ma'ishna Sefer the pligi. Amar Rabba Barachana Barachlekes Shnuya. You're right. The same machlekes applies there too. Rabbi Eliezer, and when the Mishnah says the vlad of the temurah is kosher for an oila, that's Rabbi Eliezer speaking, not the Chacham. They hold that since it's coming off a female oila, which is not fit, so the vlad is also not fit. Rav Amar says, no way. I feel TEMURAH, even the Rabbanan would agree in the ratio that it works. You know why? Huge difference between the ratio and the Sefer. Adkanli pligi. Ale de Rabbi Eliezer. Chacham only take issues with Rabbi Eliezer and disqualify the vlad of a nekeva. Ela gabi mafresh nekeva lo'ila. That's only when he designated a nekeva as an oila. That was the starting point. It's a non-starter. The imay like kreva, the mother is not karev as an oila. It's not right. So the vlad has the same status as the mother. It can't be stronger than the mother. Avol temurah, but in the ratio by the temurah, which had a vlad. The imay nami kreva, the mother animal, meaning the source animal, the original oila, which the temurah fed off, was a valid oila, was a zachar. So since the kedusha initially was a solid kedusha, I feel Rabbanan would agree that the vlad of the temurah that fed off the original oila zachar is a valid korban. He's rooted in valid kedusha and treated accordingly. Ask the Gemara. Let's dwell on Rabbi Eliezer. So a fellow was mafresh in a keva oila, she had a zachar. Rabbi Eliezer says, just be makarim as an oila. Umi Amar Rabbi Eliezer yikarav oila. Who atzma? Is that true? According to Rabbi Eliezer, you can actually take the vlad of the nekeva and bring him as an oila. Minu of a kasha. From the Mishnah later, the Avchav Temurah Asham. So you have an asham from which you made a temurah. Vlad temurah, the vlad of that temurah. Vladan, the offspring of that one. Vladan, grandchildren. Atzev kol oila until the end of the Yirash Yistavu, V'machru, V'yipulu d'mein l'nedava. So you can't actually offer them as an oila. You let it get a mum, convert it to money, which is sent to the pushka, the Beis Hamikdash, to supply the public, offerings, the oilos and the mizbeach. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Yamusu, if you let it die. Rashi explains because according to Rabbi Eliezer, an asham shares the same fate as a chatas. Pasuk says chatas ka'asham. Regarding many halachas, we had it back in Zvacha, many halachas like the Shema, we treat an asham like a chatas, and just like by a chatas, all these secondary, versions, the vlad, the temurah are lemisa. The same thing with an asham. Okay, so dead end. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer is the Tana of our Mishnah here. He says yabi b'dmein oila. He doesn't treat it like a chatas. He can be forwarded to an oila, but you take the this secondary asham, you let it get a mum, and you convert it to money, which is used to buy a personal oila. So he disagrees with the chachamim that it's a public oila, it's a private oila. In any case, clearly the actual animal itself is not valid for akrava, unless you convert it to money. Bedamim in, you can use its money for an oila. Who atzmilay, but not the actual animal. The question is why. It's an extra asham. Why not? If it's roy, if it's fit, then why not be makriv him as an oil? What do you have to go through the whole process, the conversion process? Convert them to money and use the money. Oh, apparently because since the Vlad's mother is not roy for an oila, why not? First of all, she's in a keva. And also, she's a TEMURAH of an asham, which has to go get pastured. It can't actually be offered as a carbon. So since he's coming from an invalid source, so he's tainted as well. So why is it different than our Mishnah? You mafresh in a keva oila, it's not fit for an oila. You have a vlad. Since he's sourced in a tainted source, you shouldn't be able to use him as an oila directly. So what's the difference? Again, so bottom line, we have two similar cases. In one case, Rabbi Eliezer says, use him as a carbon directly. The other case, he says, no, you can't. You have to convert him to money and use it, buy with it another carbon. So in the case of a mafresh in the keva oila, who had a zachar, directly for an oila. In the case of form of an asham, which was in the keva, who had a vlad, you can't take the vlad and use him as an oila. What's the difference? Amar Rav Chisda. The truth is, Rabbi Eliezer himself allows it. But Rabbi Eliezer was simply relating to Chachamim's opinion, relating to their understanding, to their position. Rav Chisda, Rabbi Eliezer, who says that the child of this, derivative asham, this Temurah's asham, cannot be offered as an oila directly. He himself would hold that you can do that. Rabbi Eliezer, the Rebbein Rabban Kamar, was just relating to the Chachamim on their position. He says, my personal position is that afilu vlad nami karva oila. The vlad of this Temurah's asham, go ahead. He's a perfect oila, no problem. No different than a vlad of a nekeva oila. However, you insist that the vlad of this Temurah's asham is not valid on its own. You have to get it pastured, get it blemished, downgrade it, and sell it. Okay, but the question is, where does that money go to? You insist that it goes to the public treasury. No. Keep it in-house. Let this fellow use it as a personal donation, a personal oila. That's the destiny of the moisaris, of the monies, of the extra monies. Oidulimi has agreed to me, at least, the moisaris, that the leftover monies of these animals, of these karbanos, they're meant to be used for personal donations, personal carbon oila, not the public carbon oila. I responded, no. Moisaris, all these leftover monies, they're meant for the public treasury. That's the halach. But certainly, Rabbi Eliezer personal opinion is, there's no need to go convert it, sell it, redeem it. No. If he's fit, put him on the mizbeach as is. Rav has a different solution to this apparent contradiction. Huge difference between a vlad of an oilas nekeva versus a vlad of the Temurah's asham nekeva. Rav Ad kan lo yikam Rabbi Eliezer hu atzmi krav. You know, Rabbi Eliezer says that hu atzma, that vlad himself can be offered as an oila. Ela b'mafresh nekeva oila. That's only in that specific case of our Mishnah, where he's coming from a oilas nekeva. Because as much as she's not really suitable, because an oila is meant to be a zocher, but you should know that nekeva and oila are not really so far apart. There is a variation of oila that can be a nekeva. Guess what? Oilas, oif, can be a nekeva. If it's a bird oila, we don't differentiate between genders. In that case, you can have a nekeva oila. So the concept of the labeling, the nekeva class, has relevance to oila. El b'mafresh nekeva oila the iko shem oila al imay. The name oila, the concept oila, the oila class of karbonis will somewhat apply to the mother, even though she's in a nekeva, because you can have a variation of an Eilas Nekeva in a bird form. So since it has some relevance, so it latches on somewhat. And at least if it doesn't work with the mother because she's an animal, an animal cannot be in a cave for Eilah. But she has it within her potential, within her DNA. In which case, if she's lucky enough to have a male son, it gets expressed there, and he can become a proper Eilah. So basically the point is that even though the Eilas Nekeva mother is not kosher, but she's not so far gone. Because there is a Nekeva variation of Eilah, in which case, if she has a son who's Roy, go ahead, use him as an Eilah. Since even the mother wasn't entirely rejected from the Eilah status. Aval, we turn to the next page. Aval got TEMURAH Vlad Asham. But in the case of the Vlad, there's a case of Vlad TEMURAH Asham. The Leka Shem Eilah Imay. In that case, the source carbon had no relevance to Eilah. What happened was he had an Asham, right? Which is an Asham, right? And then he made a TEMURAH from it, which had a child. So the original Asham is totally foreign to the Eilah concept. He's an Asham, not an Eilah. The Lekashem Eilah Imay. There's no relevance to Eilah on the mother, meaning here we're talking about the source, the first Asham. In this case, even Ablezer agrees that this offspring cannot be relabeled as an Eilah directly. Moider Ablezer, the Bedam Avin, at most he can take its money, right, and use it for an Asham, who atzmai loikari, but he himself cannot be used as a direct Karban Eilah. Because his ancestor, his source, wasn't even close to the Eilah track. So he's not really fit for an Eilah, he's rejected from an Eilah. Rather, you let it get a blemish, and its money you take and you buy with it a Karban Eilah as per the halacha of Meisarei Sasha. Okay, we'll leave it there. So today we discussed the halacha of Vlad of a carbon. So, Vlad of a chatas lamisa. Vlad of an asham is actually a machlekes, some say lamisa, because compared to chatas, some say l're'iyah, that's the halacha, the chacham hold it l're'iyah, you let it pasture, and you turn into an oil. What about Vlad shlamim? Chacham say it's shlamim, we have testimony to back it up. Ablezer says, no. You cannot directly offer it as a shlamim. Rashi says you can't say l'kipa, you have to let it die because of the gzeira that you might be encouraged to go have it around and generate offspring, and it might come to takala. What about the grandson? We have a shaila in the Gemara whether it's worse or better. Vlad toida, the TEMURAH toida, etc. have the same din as the toida, but the breads only accompany one. What about TEMURAH Eilah, etc.? Have a din of an Eilah. What about a fellow who had an Nekeva for an Eilah and he has a Vlad Zachar? Chacham say you have to forward it into, convert it into money, use it as an Eilah, but according to Rabbi Eliezer, who asked me Rav Eilah, according to Rabbi's explanation, it's because even though the mother was an animal, in which case an Nekeva is possible for an Eilah, but it wasn't completely rejected from the Eilah track because there's a concept of Eilas Nekeva, Eilas Oiv, so therefore it translates into the son, and if he's a Zachar, he's kosher for an Eilah. All the best to you, not Zachar.